Hello drivers, welcome to the second state of the game of 2021 in the 8th in total. There is always something happening thanks to the active modding community, and we are going to review what's new in the add-ons category. And it will not be the last state of the game, as new mods are being worked on as we speak and the existing ones are also being improved to add new features. Let's go! And I am very happy to start with the big update of Victoria by Nikki-chan, which was in development for months and that is now available for everyone. It is not the final version yet, but this update brings a lot of new areas to discover as well as content to play with. One of my favorite is clearly the new driving game Survival Till Dawn, which makes a good use of the day and night cycle to give an objective to the survival game mode. You are not asked to survive as long as possible, but here you start at night and you must survive till dawn, almost 4 minutes in game time. If you watched my last stream on the Driver Syndicate, you know it's possible, and your best ally is any bumpy grass area you may find on your attempt, knowing that the starting point is not always the same, but rather randomized to give diversity to your numerous playthrough. And if you manage to survive till dawn, you unlock a car, so good luck! I tried my best going off-roads, but my health was so low. I'm at least happy to have survived so long and, spoiler alert, didn't end this attempt by hitting a tree. Of course, I don't recommend discovering a map by playing its survival mode, that's why I will also put random clips at the end of Victoria's part. The best way is still to play it by yourself and give feedback if you can. The community is also there if you need support to install the add-ons. I made a tutorial a long time ago that should still be good for the basic installation. Victoria has quite a lot of open spaces, so it's perfect to avoid as much as you can police cars that spawn in front of you and that will for sure try to bump into you head-on, as long as you can check the minimap without hitting a tree. Anyway, I like how relentless the police is in the Driver Syndicate, just like in the old Driver games, and how it should still be the case in modern games, but well. When I failed, I quickly restarted so you could see that it was not at the same place and even not with the same car. So don't hesitate to try again, and maybe you will find a starting point that suits you best if you want to unlock the police car. You can also unlock a reward by playing the new yet familiar game mode Parking Test, set in the busiest garage I've ever seen in Syndicate. No need to explain what you need to do, but as long as all the maneuvers are done under the minute, you will unlock a car. I think you also unlock a car if you go under 30 seconds, but that's something that will require a lot of training. I let the complete footage of my very poor parking test, just so you can see that even if you are not doing the tricks correctly, you can still beat the challenge if you persevere. The more complicated trick is of course the 360, because you need to stop at the end of the full circle and not continue, unlike on the original Driver. Good luck! Finally, the city itself has been heavily updated with a lot of new assets to give a distinctive feeling to the map, which is something that I like a lot in the modding family. If you play Miami, Cincy, Allenburg, Victoria, Havana, LA, you get a different experience in each because they are not clones and feature their own identity and goal, whether as a recreation of an existing map, existing city or original layout. In the case of Victoria, the original layout is backed up by new assets made by Nikki-chan, and of course the main attraction of the city lies in the airport that was there from the start but got a few upgrades since. It's quite unusual to be able to drive on an airport track in a Driver game, let alone with airplanes landing and taking off, so be sure to take a ride there. There is also new areas of course, so don't forget to explore too. Let me now talk about a new feature at least never discussed in a state of the game yet, that can be spotted right at the default starting point if you are not using any mods menu. If you look behind you, you will instantly see there might something in the back, and indeed there is. Since you can't change cars during the gameplay, it also means you can't remove your felony, unlike for example Driver 2. But if you go to the garage, you will get a fresh car with a new color and no felony. Similar to the pay and spray from the old GTA, it's an interesting way to remove your felony without restarting, also similar to the safe house in Driver 3 and Parallel Lines. I guess there are more locations spread on the map that will require a bit of exploration to find. And now a couple of random clips, because driving is not all about exploration but also having fun with unexpected car physics behavior. Sophie made a great job to replicate the driver feeling we all love, and I'm pretty sure that every walkthrough has at least one moment like this. Let's continue the review of Original City with Cincy by Redline, which is also upgraded. If you paid attention to the thumbnail, you saw the assets from Driver Parallel Lines extracted by Tinkle 2 that are used in the city. To celebrate the update, there is also a trio of missions by Sherbet inspired by the movie Speed to play on. The escort mission requires you to avoid the police cars while the bus is obviously not waiting for you. The difficulty here is that the police has no beef with the bus and instead will only chase you throughout the mission. Of course, crashing into you or traffic cars that will block you makes the mission hard because you can't lose sight of the bus, otherwise it is mission failed. The third mission lets you drive the bus to its final destination. Avoiding to drive under 50 km/h is a real challenge, and it will require a few tries to find out the best path between the checkpoints and how to correctly take a turn to keep the maximum amount of speed. I'm obviously not going to show you all the footage I have of my failed attempts, because I must confess that I have not beaten yet this mission, as it is the case with a lot of Sherbet's missions. You could even see more fails of myself if you want by rewatching my last Syndicate stream, where I tried a few times before giving up and moving on to avoid spending all the stream on this mission. What is making it difficult is that the bar that fills when you are under 15 km does not reset when you are speeding again, so you can really only go under the speed limit a couple of times while there are 24 checkpoints to reach. Imagine if in Driver 3 Booby Trap mission the bar was not resetting, that will make the mission almost impossible to beat. Because there are a lot of corners to take, so you will inevitably slowing down a few times, and I'm not even talking about the fact you do have felony in this third mission, so the police could also be a problem as it was not already hard enough. Anyway, I think the mission needs to be tweaked and at least change the way the bar is feeling to give the player a chance to beat it. If you like challenge, you will be served. Since the last state of the game, Allenburg has been fully achieved by Swiss Cruiser. The city with the busiest in-game map is now considered finished, so let me suggest you once more to try the Allenburg chapters made by Swiss Cruiser himself, that are challenging in their own way. Instead of requiring you to drive with skills, you will also need to find the best path to take, since the timer is very short. As the city is well made with a lot of different roads, it gives a unique sense of having to look at the minimap to assess if that's the best way to go to the objective or if you are losing too much time. Definitely recommended to try. Also in the timer department, we will talk again about Pine Hill Raceway Track. as Silvercat updated it by upgrading the surroundings, making the track more lively. The goal is still to beat the best time of 1:04, but it seems I'm stuck at the 1:08 mark. If you did better than me, tell me in the comments. I really think you can do better than me just by improving the turns, as I am suspecting that's where I am losing the precious time. I know that Silvercat is now working on a new type of add-ons that I can't wait to try, and it will also test your driving skills in a tight mountain road. Silvercat continues to provide from time to time an update preview thumbnails for the car selection screen, but it's hard to keep up with the insane pace of new vehicles added to the game, which is the last section of this state of the game video. Finally, let's talk about some of the new vehicles from Ichiboy, Moot and Sherbet. I will just showcase a few of them, but my best advice is to download the newest version of the add-ons and replace the files to be sure you have all of them. There are now a lot of vehicles to choose, and they are ordered by names in the selection screen. You can also play with different music playlists, for example from Need for Speed Most Wanted or Mafia, with add-ons made by Ray. And that's it for today. Some of the maps are still in works, and maybe new modders will rise in the second half of 2021, so I'm expecting to make more state of the game in the near future. Thanks to my Red Rivers, DriverDimension.com, French Contact, Neuroscenes, Paul Lanois and Tekona on YouTube for the amazing support. Support the channel by clicking on the join button, or support Soapy by following the link in the description. See you soon, drivers.